Right now, you have money. Maybe not a lot of it, but somewhere out there is a number attached to your name that decides how much stuff you're allowed to have. And you probably think money is old, ancient even. Coins, gold, kings sitting on piles of treasure. But money is younger than the wheel. It's younger than beer. It's younger than writing. In fact, writing was partly invented because of it. For almost all of human history, there were no coins, no cash, no cards. And yet, somehow, people still bought things, sold things, borrowed things, and got completely ripped off. So, how did that work? How do you buy dinner when money doesn't exist yet? The answer is so strange that honestly, we're still doing it today. You just haven't noticed. I'm Curious Dave, and today we're chasing money all the way back to before money existed. And yes, it's as weird as it sounds. Now, if you were awake in school, you already know the answer. Before money, people used barter, right? You've got a chicken, I've got a pot, we trade, everyone goes home happy. Simple, clean. Makes perfect sense. There's just one small problem. It's a lie. There's no evidence anywhere in any human society ever that people ran their economies on barter. Anthropologists have looked hard. That tidy little chicken for a pot story you were taught? Somebody made it up. And we believed it for 200 years. The person who called this out the loudest was an anthropologist named David Graeber. In 2011, he wrote a book called Debt, The First 5,000 Years. And his argument was blunt. The origin story of money that every economics textbook prints is a myth. He traced it all the way back to Adam Smith, the founding father of economics, who in 1776 confidently described a world of barter that he had never actually seen, because it never actually existed. Here's why barter is such a nightmare and why economists just assumed money had to rescue us from it. It's called the double coincidence of wants. To trade, I don't just need to find someone who has the shoes I want. I need someone who has the shoes I want and who also happens to want the exact fish I'm holding right now before it rots. Good luck with that. So if barter doesn't work and money didn't exist yet, what did people actually do? They just remembered. In a small village, you don't trade with your neighbor, you help them, you give them a chicken, and now they owe you one. No coins change hands. The debt just lives in everyone's head. The first money in history wasn't a coin or a shell or a lump of gold. It was an IOU. It was trust. But trust only stretches so far. The moment you're dealing with strangers, you need something physical. And this is where it gets fun because humanity basically tried everything. We tried cattle. Cows were walking wealth, so central to early life that the Latin word for cattle, pecus, is where we get the word pecuniary, meaning relating to money. Your bank account is technically a herd of cows. We tried salt. It preserved food, it kept you alive, and it was valuable enough that the Latin word for a soldier's pay, salarium, comes straight from the word for salt. That is where we get the word salary. So when someone says you're worth your salt, that is older and more literal than you think. We tried shells, little cowrie shells that became one of the most widely used currencies in the entire history of the human race, across Africa and Asia for thousands of years. And then there's my favorite. On a tiny Pacific island called Yap, people used money made of giant stone wheels, some of them 12 feet across and heavier than a car. Now, you obviously cannot carry a 12-foot rock to the market. So they didn't. The stone stayed exactly where it was, and everyone simply agreed on who owned it. The money never moved. Only the story of who it belonged to did. And it gets better. One day, a crew was hauling a brand new giant stone across the sea when it slipped, fell overboard, and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Gone. Nobody could ever see it or touch it again. And the people of Yap decided, that's fine. It still counts. The owner still owns it. It is still money. A rock at the bottom of the sea that no living person has ever laid eyes on. Now hold that thought, because the real breakthrough wasn't a shell or a stone, it was a receipt. In ancient Mesopotamia, temples needed to track who owed what, how much barley, how much silver. So they pressed the numbers into wet clay tablets. And those tablets are some of the very first writing that humans ever produced. So read this slowly. We did not invent writing for poetry, or history, or love letters. We invented it to keep track of debt. Money is the reason we started writing things down. Coins, actual metal coins, show up embarrassingly late. Around 600 BC in a kingdom called Lydia. By the time humans finally got around to inventing the coin, We had already been doing money in one form or another for thousands of years. So let's go back to that rock at the bottom of the ocean. A piece of money that nobody can see, nobody can touch, that exists purely because everyone agrees it does. Sound familiar? Because that is exactly what your money is, right now. The number in your bank account is not a stack of gold in a vault with your name on it. It's a digit on a server that we have all agreed to treat as real. The dollar isn't backed by treasure, it's backed by the fact that, together, we decided to believe in it. We never evolved past the giant sunken stone. We just built a planet-sized version of it. The people of Yap weren't primitive. They were early. So the next time you tap your card and a number quietly slides from one place to another, just remember, you are doing the exact same thing a Stone Age Islander did with a rock they dropped in the ocean. If you like having your everyday life turned inside out like this, subscribe and stay curious.